Thank you for that anyway. So yeah, I'm Mark Chestney. I work as part of the infrastructure monitoring programme, which is part of AIS. I thought you were going to throw something at me there, Gareth, but no, so I am part of AIS. Obviously AIS does provide all of the various monitoring, train monitoring services for you as the customer. Infrastructure monitoring programme set up a couple of years ago to basically revolutionise the way that Network Rails gathers information using trains. And the S&C inspection trains is part of that, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about today, also known as the Class 153 VIUs, Visual Inspection Units. So what am I going to talk about? So why does NR need S&C inspection trains? Sort of just bring that to life a little bit. The challenge that was sort of set down for us as the IM programme, and sort of me personally as well. How did we go about it? We had, the timescale was particularly challenging, so we had to sort of work in some quite different ways to deliver within those timescales. Talk a little bit about the modifications that we've done to the vehicle to actually deliver what your needs are. The trial period, what we learnt from the trial, what the findings have been, and where we're going next. So, why do we need these inspection trains? Well, absolutely driven by safety, and safety sort of, I suppose, from two areas. One is track worker safety. So obviously at the moment, or a lot of hundreds of thousands of hours are spent every year on doing BVI S&C inspections. I'm sure you're all aware, I had a fatality in 2021 on Southern where someone was killed, Tyler Byrne was killed whilst doing an S&C inspection. And there are a number of reported and I am sure unreported near hits every year while people are doing inspections on the track as well. So there's a driver there to reduce that number of hours spent every year doing track inspections with boots on ballast, but also improving customer safety as well. So it's been, as Gareth alluded to earlier, as we saw that graph on there with derailments attributed to gauge spread. There's been a number of, like we know, gauge spread derailments in the past. If you look at the RAIB reports, they sort of allude to that the quality of the inspections is variable. There's an opportunity with automating those inspections to make them consistent, probably make them more accurate and make them more reliable as well. So bringing that together, two drivers for these trains. One, improve track worker safety. One, improve the actual safety of the end product, the asset as well, and to improve the safety for our customers. So the challenge, so this was set in March 21, and as it says on the screen there, have an alternative solution to on-foot basic visual inspection of S&C on trial within 6 months. And that's what I really want to draw your attention to, within 6 months, because that is pretty unheard of. It takes 6 months to get a PO sorted out, to do a feasibility study, let alone to actually lease some trains, modify those trains, and actually get those trains into service as well. So we had to work differently to how we'd sort of worked in the past if we had any hope of delivering it within sort of such tight timescales. And I think key to this has been that everybody that's been involved on this project wants it to be a success. There hasn't been a load of hangers-oners or people who are sort of throwing spanners in the works or anything like that. And that's both from the customer, the actual people that are delivering it, the suppliers, everyone that's been involved has been absolutely focused on making it a success. And they've got real skin in the game as well, which is so important, because if it really matters to you that it's going to work and achieve something, then there's a fair old chance you're going to give it that extra little push to get it over the line. Like I said, also is customer driven as well. So Eastern and Southern have been fundamental to moving this forward. They've been, I would say, very demanding customers, but also very, very supportive customers as well. So that's not just a case of banging the drum saying we want. That's a case of saying we want, and we're going to help you to do this by doing X, Y, Z, which again helps move that on. Very much a can-do attitude as well, and a will-do attitude. People are absolutely focused on moving things through. And a couple of things I also wanted to touch on here was different approach in terms of working with suppliers. So Risk sharing, very, very important to deliver something in these timescales that we don't get locked up in very, very complex contracts with lots and lots of complicated penalty clauses that everyone then sort of steps back, hides behind, builds in risk, builds in time, builds in cost. This was all done on basically a best endeavours basis, which is probably quite novel in network rail. You know, the approach tends to be we need to lock everything down. We need to be absolutely crystal clear what we're doing. We need to do this feasibility study. We need to tie down the scope. We need to do, you know, get suppliers on board, and we really, really robust contracts. Those things take so much time and then result in, you know, things taken a long while to deliver. And of course, when things take a long while to deliver, generally that builds in a lot more cost into that, and also indeed a lot more risk of overruns and getting the commercial contractual people in, which again then means ultimately you as the customers don't get what you need when you want it. As I said, very, very much customer driven. So early on, we went out to Southern and Eastern and sort of defined, well, you know, tell us a little bit more about you, what you want. At the time, thought, when we did that, a little bit of a, wow, crikey, you want quite a lot here, don't you? Which is fair enough, because you are the customer and we should be delivering what you want at the end of the day. But I think, again, there's almost a little bit of a fear in network rail that if you go and speak to the customer, you might get shocked by what people want, and that might be hard to deliver. Well, great, if that's hard to deliver, so be it. At the end of the day, we should be delivering exactly what the customer needs. So really, really important, again, to go and engage and understand what they need. But just sort of going through here what Anglia and Wessex came up with. So driver-only operation was really important. I'm sure a lot of you have had experience of the, is it TRV? Not TRV? Yeah, TRV. It's called TRV, isn't it? Yeah, sorry. No, it's not called TRV. MPV, sorry, I'm getting confused with my London Underground days. So the MPV. So the MPV, as you, I'm sure you're well aware, has an on-train technician on it. One of the key reasons why that doesn't always run when that should do is because of issues, shall we say, with that on-train technician. Makes it unreliable, doesn't turn up, on-train technician is sick, on-train technician has to go and do something else, whatever. You know, what we wanted to deliver here was something that had built-in reliability from the start, and it was designed to be reliable. So having it as built as a driver-only operation basically took that risk away. People are risky at the end of the day. If you don't need people to do things, you take that risk away. So driver-only operation was key. Thermal imaging, this is really important to Southern. Obviously, they've got the third rail, and when you know, normally a patrolman walking around is going to identify things to do, you know, issues with the third rail, hotspots, smoking, smouldering, whatever. So they wanted thermal imaging built into that as well. Forward and rearward facing images and downward facing. Obviously, the downward is needed for doing the inspections itself, so you can, you know, look at those images at your desk and see the track layout and everything. But forward and rearward images was something that was we hadn't anticipated, but to understand where people were and to make it replicate as much as possible that actual on-track experience where you can see behind you and see in front of you and see around you, understand where you are, understand other issues with the environment. Forward and rearward facing images was required as well. Had to be able to operate during the day and the night, so, you know, and in and out of possessions as well, so basically can work at any time. This wasn't just a day-only facility, so obviously that brings with it lighting requirements and all of those things as well. Had to go anywhere. There's little point in having an inspection train that can only cover a quarter of your network. So again, we had to pick a unit, a platform that had good route availability. Key one also was data to people's desktop within 24 hours. So train runs, train records. That data needs to be on the person who is doing that inspection on their desktop within 24 hours and not require any further processing. It needs to be on their, basically on their screen, and being able to be used without any further processing within 24 hours. And then the final one they've got there is sub 1 metre locational accuracy, 100% of the time. Now, I'm sure you use information that comes from the NMT and whatnot. You'll know that isn't the location accuracy isn't within 1 metre. So that was again a bit of a step change. But again, thinking about what we're trying to deliver here, if you're doing an S&C inspection, it's pretty important for the information that you're getting off that to be pretty good in terms of locational accuracy, because obviously if you wander by 5 metres one way or the other, you could be on a completely different line, completely different crossing, completely different switch, whatever. So plain line, single line, doing geometry measurements, maybe 5 metre accuracy is adequate, but in this situation clearly wasn't. So how do we go about this? So a number of people have asked me, well, why did you choose a 153? And indeed, a few people have said, oh, well, I can remember 153s when I was a child. I used to go to college on a 153 and they stink and they were awful and they were slow and smelly and awful things. Yeah, perhaps as a passenger they might have been, but we're using them as something slightly different here. I would like to say that, we made a very, very strategic decision in choosing a 153, that we did this massive bit of market research, looked all around the globe to see what the ideal platform would be for carrying this equipment around. Got to be honest with you, the only reason we chose a 153 is because that was the only train that was available at the time. But fortuitously, it has actually turned out to be a very, very good platform. I would say they're sort of, for those that can remember, who are of a similar age to me, the sort of Ford Sierra of the train world. So, pretty basic, pretty reliable, simple. So they've just got basically a bus engine in them. They've got a very simple transmission in them as well. They're a ex-passenger train, so they're far more reliable than a piece of yellow plant because they have that reliability built in them. They're still quite well supported by the industry, so you can still get spares for them. They've got a whole load of space underneath them, so you can bolt loads and loads of equipment under them. They're relatively fast. They'll crack along at sort of 75 miles an hour, so they'll fit in with other trains as well, so it's not like running something at 30 miles an hour or anything like that. Relatively easy to work on, like I say, still quite well supported by the industry as well. So whilst they may not have been that great for taking passengers around in their day, they're actually quite a good piece of kit for hauling equipment around. There's also quite a lot that are available, so again there's sort of lots to choose from that we can utilise. Another key element to this was having the right suppliers on board. I've also already mentioned about sort of skin in the game, but with the suppliers that we ended up working with, they all had something more than something more to get out of this than making a quick buck. It wasn't just about making a quick bit of money and then walking away. They all actually had another driver to be part of this to get some sort of success out of it. And just sort of going through some of the key ones. So Porterbrook are the people who we leased the train off. They were very keen to start to move into a sort of service provision world. So they actually provided Network Rail with a service rather than just leasing a train. So their aspiration is in the long term that we might go to them for data services rather than just for leasing a train. So that's a sort of small step in that direction. Also, they were quite keen around sort of talking about that 6-month challenge. How could they work differently with us to deliver that 6-month challenge as well? DG8, so DG8 are the people who actually did the design and fitted all the kit together and did the modifications. They're very keen on pushing a little bit further with their sort of turnkey solutions and being able to demonstrate that to Network Rail and then using that as an exemplar to demonstrate to other companies as well. One Big Circle, so they're the people who provide, who I'm sure many of you are aware of, but provide the AVA dashboard. They were very keen to use this to drive some further use cases for that AVA dashboard to sort of broaden the use of it and test the possibilities of it as well. So they were really bought into to try and sort of push it that little bit further. Machines with Vision, so I'll come on to this a little bit later, but Machines with Vision provide the locational accuracy system called Rail Lock. That had been trialled on the NMT and I think on something else in the past, but hadn't really got that much visibility, hadn't really got down to frontline colleagues who, who they felt that, well, if we can show this system to people out there and how accurate that can actually give you a locational position, they're going to get a lot more buy-in and a lot more support, and potentially, that'll drive their business forward. So again, they were really sort of keen from that point of view. And then finally, Vista, who I'll come on to as well. So Vista provide the track geometry kit for the vehicle. They'd only historically worked in America, so they were very keen to sort of broaden out into Europe. So all the suppliers there got different reasons to be involved, and I think it was really, like I say, really important that wasn't just a case of making a bit of money and walking away. They all had a sort of long-term interest in making this a success. So that sort of led to, I think, key decisions to be, allowed us to make sort of key decisions very, very quickly with the right people, and no more than the right people, because generally if you ask more people, that again, slow things down, make things complicated, stops things, brings more changes of scope and everything as well. So it kept it very, very, very focused. Very, very small team, to be honest with you, working on this. Not a significant amount at all. But we had a lot of, external support, because that had come down from the exec, like I say, Southern and Eastern, absolutely bought into it and pushing it hard. TA involved in pushing it hard as well, and also unlocking things where we needed to. So we got that customer, we got that supplier buy-in, allowed us to be agile, so we could sort of incorporate additional requirements as they came up. And a good example of that is track geometry. So that the initial scope didn't include track geometry, because to do a BVI you don't need to have a track geometry trace. But Sinsin and Easton said this is really important to us. We really, really need that track geometry trace with the as it goes out, primarily due to the historical derailments that are caused due to gauge spread and everything. And again, one could say that a savvy patrolman who's looking for career development and whatnot would show some interest in a track geometry trace when they're doing a BVI as well. So could we give them that? Well, absolutely, of course we could, because you're the customer and we deliver what you want. Excuse me. So this is a picture of, obviously in real life, it hasn't got a big hole in the side. You'll also notice that it's not yellow. Any thoughts why it might not be yellow? Come on, hit me with something. Come on, audience. No, not the cost of painting it at all, but that would be a good one, and we could save a bit on that. The reason it's not yellow is because yellow is like a really bad colour, and everyone associates bad things with yellow. So JCBs are yellow. JCBs are digging up the road in your way, or you're stuck behind one going along when you're trying to go on holiday or something like that. Yellow. Obviously, yellow plant and other trains on the railway, yellow, you see them, you think something's gone wrong, the railway's closed over the weekend, I can't do what I want to do. You don't think to yourself, or the general public doesn't think to themselves, ooh, great, they're making some wonderful improvements here. They just think the railway's shut again. The AA yellow, when you break down, the AA turn up. So yellow's all bad. And of course also what's yellow is Big Bird at Sesame Street, which was very, very scary when I was a child, and I'm sure it was for you as well. So that's why it's not yellow. There was various different colours that we thought about, but blue was the one that we decided upon. Now, just talking through in terms of what's been done to modify these units. So on the front end, so starting from, is that your left as well? Yes, there's that left. Rail-facing camera pods with illumination. So there's cameras mounted on the front of the train that face downwards. There's 4 cameras that face downwards that basically look at each side of each rail. And with those, there's the illumination as well, because as you know, we need to make it available to operate at night. The data upload system. So built into the train there, you can see the 2 racks there. So like I said, the challenge was to get that data from inspection to desktop within 24 hours. The best so far, and this has actually surprised us, we didn't think we'd do it this quickly, has been under 20 minutes. So on one occasion we've actually done a run, and within 20 minutes of that recording session, that's actually got down onto someone's desktop. It's always a lot better than 24 hours. I can't claim that that's always under 20 minutes, but it is always a lot better than 24 hours. Vista Track Geometry System, as I already mentioned, that's mounted underneath, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We have got the yellow peril there, which is the generator. I'll talk a little bit more about how that works as well. But we have got an intelligent sort of charging system in there as well. So one of the key things that on-train technicians tend to do on the bigger measurement trains is look after the generator, start that up, turn it off, make sure that's working properly. This is a super duper intelligent generator that basically looks after itself, so takes that requirement away for an OTT. Another development that we did halfway through the program was incorporate a 4-foot camera underneath the train. So originally we had those images of the 2 rails, very, very good images, but there was a requirement to show a 4-foot view. We stitched those images together. They didn't look that great, let's be perfectly honest with you, and Eastern and Southern were pretty open about that, and thought, no, well, we're not going to try and fob you off with that then, we'll actually deliver what you want. So we actually put another camera on which gives that full 4-foot view as well. So you've got the rail views and then you've got a full 4-foot view if you need it. Rail lock, as I mentioned before, that's the system that determines the location of the train. That involves a camera that's mounted under the train that basically takes a video of the ballast and builds up a ballast map, ties that into GPS and keeps refining itself over and over and over again. So it gets after a number of runs, you get real good locational accuracy down to we're well sub 100 millimetres now. And then, like I say, driver only operation there, so doesn't require any technicians to be on board. And a driver, and I know with some of these inspection vehicles, there's historically we've asked drivers to do more. You know, can you do this? Can you switch this on? Can you switch that on? Can you check this dial? Now on this, you just drive because that's what you're paid to do. That's what you're good at. You drive the train. Everything else looks after itself. So just looking at the modification, I mean, there's a picture on the left there of some people doing lots of work with grinders and everything. Interestingly, we did find a little hole in one corner of the train when we first started modifying it, and everyone that came to inspect it basically trod on that hole, and that got really big by the end of it. Nick Millington was one of those people as well, managed to stick his foot through it. But yeah, so that just gives an overview of what how much was stripped out. You've got the pods, like I said, that are mounted on the front there in the middle, and then on the right-hand side there, you've got the rail lock system. So roughly 2/3 of the interior of the train is now fitted with monitoring equipment. There you've got the generator, like I said, intelligent system that starts itself, stops itself, monitors the condition of the batteries. Even if the train is left in a siding for some period of time, that'll continue to monitor the batteries, and then that'll switch on and charge them up if they start to drop down. So it can keep feeding information off, and the train will start next time someone comes along. The grey boxes there are the battery banks themselves. Then over on the right hand side we've got basically how that streams the information off the train into the cloud, so that can be processed and then gets onto someone's desktop. So on the left hand side there we've got the Vista system. You can see the laser tubes on the side. They're very neat, compact system, very easy to fit, compared to some of the other systems that are in use, some of the older systems as well. And then on the right hand side, that's the actual intelligent charging system itself. So that's what's actually monitoring the batteries and turning the generator on and off. So the trial and the findings. So we built 2 trains. We've got a third mule that's been sort of used for development and driver training. Do you think we did it in 6 months? No, sorry, just under 7. So I think that's still successful though. So didn't quite, but you always set challenging targets that you might meet. Is my argument. So I still feel that even if we did it in 7, we were successful. Now been on trial now, out running around just over 6 months on Anglia and Wessex. I think we can say that the concept is proven. We've taken on a lot of board end user feedback during that, and tested it and refined it, improved the technology and everything. We've covered 4,000 miles in that sort of 6 months, 200 hours of footage and 2,000 point ends, and really something I'm super duper proud of, and I'll keep touching wood every time I say that. It has never failed. It has never let us down. Every time that's gone out, it's got back and it is recorded as well. So I think there's no doubt that we didn't set out for this to be a one system cover all. You'll never need to do a manual BVI again. There's no way that was going to do that. But it certainly has proven that this sort of technology can be used and will be rolled out to be used going forward. It's ideal. If you've got a bullhead layout that's in poor condition, that's covered in grease, that 50 keys fall out of every week, and 20 bolts need tightening up, this is no good to you because you're going to send someone out there to do that work. So you might as well just send them out to do the patrol anyway. If you've got good condition layouts that have got real access restrictions, then this is the absolute ideal tool for you. and again, the next step isn't going to be, well, just adopt this 100% of the time. Our view is that you'd start off bringing it in sort of like alternatively, and sort of build that knowledge base up through and sort of drive it forward like that. We're now moving on to sort of rolling out to the to wider customers. So, like I said, we've got the 2 units. We're now converting the third unit. We're now going through this safety change process as well. As part of that safety change process, we're also given clear guidance on what the residual inspection regime would be should you adopt this. So you will then come up with, that standard change process will talk you through what your new inspection regime will look like. We're also looking at building an 053, 054 inspection vehicle as well, which we should have on trial in Wales and Western in the new year, and really keen sort of from this to sort of gauge what your pull is for sort of a vehicle like this in your area. And on that is where I finish. If you are at Rail Live on the 22nd or 23rd of June, we will be there and we will have a train there, and you are more than welcome to have a look around and ask any questions there. So thank you.